A 55-year-old lady suddenly started learning to swim instead of her usual routine of going to a temple. Everyone was curious and asked her, "Why the change in your interest in swimming nowadays?" The lady, with a look of helplessness, replied, "Whenever my son and daughter-in-law quarrel with each other, my daughter-in-law always asks my son, 'If your mom and I fall into water, whom will you save first?' And because I do not want to put my son in a difficult position, I am learning to swim." A few days later, husband and wife were quarreling again, and the daughter-in-law unreasonably asked, "Now tell me, if your mom and I fall into water, whom will you save first?" Husband replied, "I don't have to get into the water. My mom knows how to swim. She will save you." Wife refused to relent. "No, you have to jump into the water and have to save one of us." "Whom will you save?" Husband replied, "Then you will surely die, because I don't know how to swim, and my mom will definitely save me first." A very attractive woman goes up to the bar in a quiet rural pub. She gestures alluringly to the bartender, who comes over immediately. When he arrives, she seductively signals that he should bring his face closer to hers. When he does so, she begins to gently caress his full beard. "Are you the manager?" she asks, softly stroking his face with both hands. "Actually, no," the man replies. "Can you get him for me? I need to speak to him," she says, running her hands beyond his beard and into his hair. "I'm afraid I can't," breathes the bartender. "Is there anything I can do?" "Yes, there is. I need you to give him a message," she continues, slyly popping a couple of her fingers into his mouth and allowing him to suck them gently. "What should I tell him?" The bartender manages to say, "Tell him," she whispers, "there is no toilet paper or hand soap in the ladies' room." A man hires a poacher to capture a male gorilla for a zoo. The poacher agrees but says that his assistant is ill and will need the man to come with him in his assistant's place. The man agrees, and so the poacher goes out to the jungle with the man. The poacher brings a pair of handcuffs, a long stick, a shotgun, and a chihuahua. They search through the jungle for about an hour and then spot a male gorilla above in the treetops. The man asks the poacher what the plan is. The poacher replies, "I'm going to climb the tree, and when I get close enough, I'm going to start poking the gorilla with the stick until it falls out of the tree." The chihuahua is a specially trained chihuahua. When the gorilla falls out of the tree, the chihuahua will try to bite off the gorilla's privates. When the gorilla moves its hands to protect its privates, you put the handcuffs on it. This all seems to make sense to the man, but he has one question. "What is the shotgun for?" he asks the poacher. The poacher responds, "If I fall out of the tree before the gorilla, shoot the chihuahua." A bloke starts his new job at the zoo and is given 3 tasks. First is to clear the exotic fish pool of weeds. As he does this, a huge fish jumps out and bites him. To show who is boss, he beats it to death with a spade. Realizing his employer won't be best pleased, he disposes of the fish by feeding it to the lions, as lions will eat anything. Moving on to the second job of clearing out the chimp house, he is attacked by the chimps, who pelt him with coconuts. He swipes at 2 chimps with a spade, killing them both. What can he do? Feed them to the lions, he says to himself, because lions eat anything, and hurls the corpses into the lion enclosure. He moves on to the last job, which is to collect honey from the South American bees. As soon as he starts, he is attacked by the bees. He grabs the spade and smashes the bees to a pulp. By now he knows what to do and shovels them into the lion's cage because lions eat anything. Later that day, a new lion arrives at the zoo. He wanders up to another lion and says, "What's the food like here?" The lion says, "Absolutely brilliant. Today we had fish and chips with mushy bees." A bloke starts his new job at the zoo and is given 3 tasks. First is to clear the exotic fish pool of weeds. As he does this, a huge fish jumps out and bites him. To show who is boss, he beats it to death with a spade. Realizing his employer won't be best pleased, he disposes of the fish by feeding it to the lions, as lions will eat anything. Moving on to the second job of clearing out the chimp house, he is attacked by the chimps, who pelt him with coconuts. He swipes at 2 chimps with a spade, killing them both. What can he do? Feed them to the lions, he says to himself, because lions eat anything, and hurls the corpses into the lion enclosure. He moves on to the last job, which is to collect honey from the South American bees. As soon as he starts, he is attacked by the bees. He grabs the spade and smashes the bees to a pulp. By now, he knows what to do and shovels them into the lion's cage because lions eat anything. Later that day, a new lion arrives at the zoo. He wanders up to another lion and says, "What's the food like here?" The lion says, "Absolutely brilliant. Today we had fish and chips with mushy bees." An old lady was walking down the street with two huge bags over her shoulders, while suddenly one of the bags breaks, and $100 bills start falling on the sidewalk one after another. A policeman going in the opposite direction notices this and alerts the lady. "Excuse me, I think one of your bags broke and money is falling out." The lady looks back. "Oh my, thank you, young man. Most people these days would just walk by and not say a thing." "You are such a sweetie," she replies, drops the bags, and starts collecting the money. The policeman looks at the two bags and he becomes curious. "How did an old lady like you get a full bag of money anyways?" "Oh, it is an honest business, don't worry," the woman says. "I live in a house right next to the golf course, and I have a beautiful garden with lots of nice flowers. However, my fence is old and full of holes, so the golfers tend to come next to the fence, stick it through the holes, and pee all over my flowers. This really hurts my garden, so I have figured out a trick. When they put it in the hole, I am waiting there with gardening shears, and I say, 'Give me $100, or off it goes.'" The policeman is stumped but amazed at the same time. That really is a smart solution. However, I have to ask, what is in the second bag? To which the woman stands up, looks him dead in the eye, and says, "Well, not everybody pays." A lady is walking down the street and sees a parrot in the window of a pet store. She stops to admire the bird. The parrot says to her, "Hey, lady, you're really ugly." Well, the lady is furious. She storms past the store to her work. The next day, she sees the same parrot in the window. When the parrot sees her, it says, "Hey, lady, you are really ugly." She's livid and storms off. A day later, she sees the same parrot, and once again it says, "Hey, lady, my God, are you ugly?" The lady is so furious that she marches into the store and threatens to sue the store and have the bird killed. The store manager apologizes profusely and promises the bird won't say it again. The next day, when the lady walks past the store, the parrot says to her, "Hey, lady, lady." She pauses, scowls with an icy stare, and says, "Yes." And the parrot says, "You know." A little old lady decides to join the Hells Angels, so one day she goes up and knocks on their clubhouse door. A big, hairy, bearded biker with tattoos all over his arms answers. She boldly proclaims, "I want to join your club." The guy is amused and decides to humor her a bit, so he says she needs to meet certain biker requirements in order to join. The biker asks, "Do you have a motorcycle?" The little old lady replies, "Yep, my bike's parked over there," and points to a flamed black Harley chopper in the driveway. The biker asks, "Do you drink?" The little old lady replies, "Yep, like a fish. I'll drink any man in your club under the table." The biker then asks, "Do you smoke?" The little old lady replies, "Yep, smoke like a chimney. At least 4 packs of cigarettes and 3 joints a day, and a couple of cigars in the evening while I'm shooting pool." The biker is very impressed and asks, "You sound like one bad mama. Tell me, have you ever been picked up by the fuzz?" The little old lady thinks for a minute and says, "Nope, but I've been swung around by my nipples a few times and I kind of liked it." A woman stopped by unannounced at her son's house. She knocked on the door, then immediately walked in. She was shocked to see her daughter-in-law lying on the couch, totally naked. Soft music was playing, and the aroma of perfume filled the room. "What are you doing?" she asked. "I'm waiting for Mike to come home from work," the daughter-in-law answered. "But you're naked," the mother-in-law exclaimed. "This is my love dress," the daughter-in-law explained. "Love the dress, but you're naked." "Mike loves me and wants me to wear this dress," she explained. "It excites him to no end. Every time he sees me in this dress, he instantly becomes romantic and ravishes me for hours on end. He can't get enough of me." The mother-in-law left. When she got home, she undressed, showered, put on her best perfume, dimmed the lights, put on a romantic CD, and lay on the couch, waiting for her husband to arrive. Finally, her husband came home. He walked in and saw her lying there so provocatively. "What are you doing?" he asked. "This is my love dress," she whispered sensually. "Needs ironing." A large woman, wearing a sleeveless sundress, walked into a bar in Dublin. She raised her right arm, revealing a huge, hairy armpit, and as she pointed to all the people sitting at the bar, she asked, "What man here will buy a lady a drink?" The bar went silent, as patrons tried to ignore her. But down at the end of the bar, an owly-eyed drunk slammed his hand down on the counter and bellowed, "Give the ballerina a drink!" The bartender poured the drink, and the woman chugged it down. She turned to the patrons and again pointed around at all of them, revealing the same hairy armpit, and asked, "What man here will buy a lady a drink?" Once again, the same little drunk slapped his money down on the bar and said, "Give the ballerina another drink." The bartender approached the little drunk and said, "Tell me, Patty, it's your business if you want to buy the lady a drink, but why do you keep calling her the ballerina?" The drunk replied, "Any woman who can lift her leg that high has got to be a ballerina." Three lumberjacks, Sam, Dave, and Ben, are felling trees when a bear approaches them. Sam says, "Stay back or we'll kill you with our axes." The bear responds, "Whoa, I'm a proud vegetarian. I just wanted to offer you all a nicely cooked dinner since you've all been working so hard and are probably hungry." The three lumberjacks agree since none of them like to cook. After eating a nice vegetarian dinner with the bear at their campsite, the bear asks if he could sleep the night there. Sam replies with, "No way! This is a trick for you to eat us." Dave says, "Aw, come on, Sam. The bear has been so nice to us. I'm sure he won't hurt us." After some discussion, the lumberjacks agree to let the bear stay the night. The next morning, Sam and Ben wake up to see Dave's carcass in his tent. They both get angry at the bear for eating Dave and kill it. While felling trees later that day, Sam asks Ben for advice on how to get stronger. Ben replies, "Swing an axe, carry heavy logs, and never skip eating protein at any meal." Little Timothy was a bright boy, smart, kind, and even fairly handsome. But there was one thing that set him apart. He had lost an eye in a fishing accident as a child. His family couldn't afford a glass eye, so his grandfather lovingly carved him one out of wood. Unfortunately, the other kids weren't so kind. They teased him relentlessly, crushing his self-esteem, but Timothy had had enough. The school dance was coming up, and he was determined to have a good time. There was a girl named Sally who had caught his eye. She was shy and often kept to herself, mostly because of the teasing she endured for her pronounced mustache, earning her the cruel nickname Hair Lip. But Timothy didn't care about that. He thought she was the most beautiful girl in school. One day at lunch, he spotted her sitting alone, nibbling on a peanut butter sandwich. Summoning all his courage, he walked up to her. "Sally," he said, heart pounding, "I've seen you around for a while and, well, would you like to go to the dance with me?" Sally's face lit up. Would I? Timothy grinned until his nerves got the better of him. "Hair Lip," he blurted out and ran away. Two hillbillies got married. On their wedding night, the hillbilly groom admitted that he was a virgin and didn't really know what to do. The hillbilly bride giggled and said, "Silly, you just take that thing you play with and put it where I pee." So he got up, grabbed his banjo, and threw it in the sink. The Boston Zoo had a very large problem. Their most popular attraction, a gorilla named Jamie, had died unexpectedly in the night. Ticket sales were projected to plummet if this gorilla couldn't be seen, so the zoo manager decided to hire a man to dress up in a gorilla costume and pretend to be Jamie. The manager finds a man suitable for the job and tells him, "All you got to do is swing around and lie down for 12 hours a day, act just as any gorilla would." The man agrees, puts on the costume, and heads into his enclosure. When the zoo opens, people rush to see the legendary Jamie the gorilla. The man, though nervous at first, starts to walk around like a normal gorilla would. The observers smile at his actions, so he decides to kick it up a notch. The man grabs hold of a vine and begins to swing from one side of his enclosure to the other. The crowd shows admiration, laughing and pointing at his acrobatic skills. The man decides to take things even further and does a backflip off of the vine onto a high tree branch. The crowd erupts with applause, chanting, "Jamie, Jamie, Jamie!" at the top of their lungs. The man decides he will do one final stunt. He climbs up onto the vine and builds up some momentum. However, as he begins to reach a fast speed, his hand slips and he flies over a wall right into the lion enclosure. Panicking, the man begins to scream, "Help me! I'm not actually a gorilla! Please, someone help!" The lion snarls and pounces on the man and says, "Hey man, shut your mouth or we're both gonna lose our jobs." A poor old lady was forced to sell her valuables to avoid eviction. As she rummaged through her dusty belongings, she came across a dull copper kettle. Intrigued by its possible value, the old woman dusted it off and bam! A genie erupted from its neck. The genie says, "I have seen your plights and will grant you 3 wishes. The woman, astounded, thinks for a moment and says, "Age has taken its toll on me. I wish to be young and beautiful once more." Bam! In a sudden flash, the old woman emerged, a ravishing young woman. Thrilled by her success, the woman says, "Genie, I want to live a life of grandeur, to be rich." Bam! With a snap of the genie's fingers, the room swirled and transformed into a great hall. Her once broken cottage had become a mansion. Upon looking down, the woman noticed her worn clothing had been replaced with a stunning dress and shining heels. While she marveled at this outcome, the genie stood solemnly and said, "You have 1 wish left." The woman thought about this for a while and then felt a slight brush against her leg. It was her old cat, frightened by the building's transformation. The woman looked up at the genie and said, "This cat has been faithfully with me for all my years. Please transform him into a human man so that we may spend many happy days together." Bam! In a blinding flash, the cat had vanished. Standing in his place was a tall, dark-haired, handsome young man. Immediately enamored by her new love, the woman fell into his arms. The genie, his work complete, disappeared. As she gazed into his eyes, he drew her close and whispered, "Too bad you had me neutered." 2 well-dressed men are talking at a rooftop bar about 70 stories from the ground floor. They overhear a guy talking about how he's a hedge fund manager and how much money he makes. One of the well-dressed men mentions to his friend how much he hates hedge fund managers. His friend agrees. The hedge fund manager makes his way over and asks, "So, what do the 2 of you do for a living?" One of the gentlemen replies, "Well, I'm a billionaire, so I don't really do anything for a living. In fact, I own this building." A little daunted, the hedge fund manager replies, "Nice." He then turns to the other gentleman and asks, "What about you?" The other gentleman replies, "I'm a meteorologist of sorts. I have a fascination with wind currents." The hedge fund manager scoffs and says, "That can't pay very well." The gentleman replies, "Oh, it doesn't, but this guy here is my best friend, so I don't need a lot of money." The hedge fund manager says, "Tell me a little more about the dynamics of wind you find so fascinating." The gentleman responds, "Follow me over to the edge, and I'll try to explain it and give you a demonstration." The 3 of them get to the edge of the roof, and the well-dressed man begins his explanation. "You see all these high-rise buildings? Well, the wind is constantly blowing between them. But what most people don't know is that the concrete below heats up during the day and forces a strong updraft. Here, I'll show you." He then proceeds to step off the ledge. The hedge fund manager gasps but can't look away. The well-dressed gentleman falls about 10 stories and the updraft brings him right back to the roof. The hedge fund manager exclaims, "Oh my God, that was awesome." The well-dressed man says, "Give it a try." The hedge fund manager steps off the edge and falls 70 stories to his death. The well-dressed billionaire shakes his head, looks at his friend and says, "You're a mean drunk, Superman." 2 young men stand before a judge after being arrested for drug use. The judge looks them over and says, "You both seem like decent guys, so I'm giving you a second chance. Instead of jail, I want you to spend the weekend convincing others to stay off drugs. On Monday, I expect results, or you're going straight to prison." Monday arrives and the judge calls up the first guy. "How did you do?" "Your Honor, I convinced 17 people to quit drugs forever." 17? That's fantastic. How?" I used a simple diagram. I drew 2 circles. Oh. Then I told them, the big circle is your brain before drugs, and the small one is your brain after drugs. The judge nods approvingly and turns to the second guy. And you, how did you do? The second guy grins. Your Honor, I convinced 156 people to quit drugs forever. The judge's eyes widen. 156? That's incredible. What did you say? I used the same idea, Your Honor. I drew 2 circles. Oh. Then I pointed to the little one and said, this is your sphincter before prison. A farmer takes his truck in for repairs, but the local mechanic can't fix it right away. Since he doesn't live far, the farmer decides to walk home. On his way, he stops at the hardware store to buy a bucket and a gallon of paint. Then he heads to the feed store and picks up a couple of chickens and a goose. Now, struggling with his purchases, he thinks to himself, how am I going to carry all this home? Just then, a little old lady approaches him and asks, excuse me, can you tell me how to get to 1603 Mockingbird Lane? The farmer replies, well, my farm is close to that house. I'd walk you there, but I'm struggling to carry all this stuff. The little old lady smiles and suggests, why don't you put the paint in the bucket, carry the bucket in one hand, tuck a chicken under each arm, and carry the goose in the other hand? The farmer thanks her and follows her advice. As they walk, he says, let's take this shortcut down the alley. We'll be there in no time. The old lady looks at him suspiciously and says, I'm a lonely widow, without a husband to protect me. How do I know you won't hold me up against the wall and have your way with me in this alley? The farmer, shocked, replies, what in the world? I'm carrying a bucket, a gallon of paint, 2 chickens, and a goose. How could I possibly do that? The old lady, with a smirk, says, well, if you were going to do such a thing, you'd set the goose down, cover him with the bucket, place the paint on top of the bucket, and I'd hold the chickens. A woman hired a contractor to repaint the interior of her house. She walked him through the second floor, explaining what colors she wanted for each room. As they entered the first room, she said, I think I'd like this room in a cream color. The contractor jotted it down, walked to the window, opened it, and shouted, green side up. He closed the window and continued following her to the next room. The woman, a little puzzled, said nothing but continued. In this room I was thinking of an off blue, she said. The contractor wrote it down, opened the window again, and shouted, green side up. Now the woman was really confused, but kept quiet as they moved to the next room. For the final room, she suggested a light rose color. Again, the contractor opened the window and yelled, green side up! Curiosity finally got the best of her. Why do you keep yelling green side up out of my window every time I tell you a color? She asked. The contractor grinned and said, oh, I have a crew of blondes laying turf across the street. A police officer was on night patrol when he spotted 2 men brawling in the middle of the street. Flashing his lights, he pulled up, jumped out, and yanked them apart. After cuffing them both, he sat them on the sidewalk and demanded, all right, what's going on here? The first man sighed. It started a few nights ago when I suspected my girlfriend was cheating. I surprised her at home and found her watching a movie with 2 empty pizza boxes next to her. So? The officer asked. So, who the hell orders 2 large pizzas for themselves? Fair point. Anyway, the man continued, I decided to stake out her house, right there, the pink one. I had my buddy at the pizza shop deliver me a pizza while I waited. Everything was quiet until I saw that jerk creeping around the side of the house. The officer glanced at the second man. Him? Yep. So I confronted him. He denied knowing my girl. One thing led to another, and we started throwing punches. That's when you showed up. The officer thought for a moment, then unlocked the cuffs. All right, here's the deal. Give me your pizza, and I'll let you off with a warning. The man grumbled, handed over the pizza, then drove off. The officer placed the box in his car, then turned to the second man. So that guy thinks you're sleeping with his girlfriend. The second man scoffed. What? I did no such thing. Then what were you doing sneaking around? The man mumbled, shifting nervously. Well, damn, you'll find out when you search me anyway. All right, fine. I was trying to rob the place. The officer raised an eyebrow. That's hardly an improvement. I swear the windows were locked up tight, so I was leaving. Next thing I know, this lunatic is screaming at me, saying I'm after his girl, and we start fighting. Then you show up. Empty your pockets." The man reluctantly pulled out lock-picking tools, a skeleton key, and a pair of diamond earrings. The officer examined the loot, then smirked. "I'll be taking these, but since I'm in a good mood, you're free to go." Shocked at his luck, the thief bolted down the street. Just then, the porch light flicked on and an angry woman stormed out. "What the hell is going on out here?" she demanded. The officer turned, grinning. "Nothing, babe. Just got you a pizza and some new jewelry." One Sunday morning, a young man struts into a local coffee shop, dressed sharp and walking tall. He takes a seat, scans the place with a smirk, then raises a hand to summon the waiter. "I'll have your freshest coffee," he says. "None of that muddy stuff you probably brew from yesterday's leftovers." The waiter assures him, "Sir, we make fresh coffee several times a day." "I'll believe it when I taste it." The man scoffs. "I'm from New York. I know good coffee. But fine, humor me. Just make a fresh batch." He waves the waiter away dismissively. The waiter heads to the kitchen and soon returns with a steaming cup. The man takes a sip, immediately scowls, and pushes the cup away. "Just as I thought, that's not fresh. Try again." The waiter sighs, disappears into the kitchen, and takes his time before returning with another cup, the steam rising in rich aromatic swirls. The man takes a sip and spits it out in disgust. "This is even worse. This coffee tastes like mud." The waiter shrugs and replies, "Well, sir, it's fresh ground. It's fresh." On a particularly windy day, a rabbi was walking down the street when a strong gust blew his hat right off his head. He chased after it, but the wind kept carrying it farther away. A young non-Jewish man saw what was happening, sprinted after the hat, and managed to catch it. Grateful, the rabbi handed him $20 and blessed him. Feeling lucky, the young man decided to head to the racetrack. "With the rabbi's blessing, how can I lose?" he thought. Checking the race program, he noticed a horse named Top Hat running in the 5th race at 100-to-1 odds. Remembering the rabbi's hat, he put his entire $20 on it, and to his amazement, Top Hat won. Encouraged, he looked at the next race and saw a horse named Bowler at 30-to-1. Sticking with the hat theme, he bet all his winnings on Bowler and won again. That evening, he excitedly told his father the story. "So did you bring the money home?" his father asked. "No," the son sighed. "I lost it all in the last race. There was a horse named Chateau, and since Chateau means hat in French, I figured he was a sure thing." His father smacked his forehead. "You fool! Hat in French is chapeau, not chateau." Shaking his head, he asked, "So who won the race?" The son groaned. "Some long shot, a Spanish horse named Sombrero." One day, Vladimir Putin visited an elementary school to give a lecture on why Russia, under his leadership, was the greatest country in the world. After his speech, he invited the students to ask questions. Nearly every hand shot up. After all, it's not every day you get to ask the president of Russia a question. Putin pointed to a girl with braids. "Yes, little one, what's your name?" "Hello, Mr. President. My name is Sasha, and I wanted to ask, do you think Russia will ever return to being the Soviet Union like in the past?" "Of course," Putin replied with a smile. "It's only a matter of time before the world realizes it's in their best interest." Next, he pointed to a boy with freckles. "Yes, you, young man." "Hello, Mr. President. My name is Arkady, and I wanted to know, what's the secret to your success?" "You're the most powerful man in Russia." Putin chuckled. "In Russia? My boy, I am the most powerful man in the world. The secret? I simply know what's best for everyone, so they trust me to lead." Then he spotted a blond boy raising his hand. "And you?" "Hello, Mr. President. My name is Boris, and I wanted to ask, why did Russia invade Ukraine? And why did we annex Crimea?" Just as Boris finished his question, the school bell rang. The children hurried out for lunch. When the break was over, everyone returned to the lecture hall. Putin scanned the room and called on a girl with short hair. "Yes, dear. What's your question?" The girl stood up. Hello, Mr. President. My name is Katya, and I wanted to ask, where is Boris?